Welcome to your City Commission study session. Please turn off or silence all cell phones during the meeting. In accordance with the Kansas Open Meetings Act, the meeting can be viewed live on Channel 2 and via Facebook Live. The public is encouraged to view the meeting using one of those options. The Leavenworth City Commission meeting is open to the public with limited seating capacity. To mitigate the spread of COVID-19, face coverings and social distancing is required to attend the meeting. Refer to the agenda packet on the city website on how to reserve a seat and/or submit questions. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 7 p.m. and midnight and available for viewing on YouTube and Facebook Live. First item on the agenda, presentation of the state legislative agenda for 2021.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor and Commission, every year the City Commission considers a state legislative agenda to express the city's points of interest to our federal or our state delegation. Normally this happens well in advance of the session starting. However, due to COVID this year, the Kansas League of Municipalities was a little bit late in getting out their statement of policy. Commissioner Griswold and I participated in an event with them, a Zoom event with them to go through their priorities, which also was a couple weeks later than it normally is. So we're getting it to you tonight. At the end of my presentation, all I'm asking for is a consensus from the Commission for two things. One, to adopt the 2021 Statement of Municipal Policy, and then also consensus that the priority items that I'm going to outline briefly are the priority items of the City Commission. So I'll go through the items and then at the end ask for comments from the Commission. So during the legislative session, City staff will continue to monitor bills and issues that move forward in the House and the Senate. We will bring those bills that have a positive or negative impact on the city to the Commission for support or opposition. Per the Commission goals, staff will make every effort to bring the request for letters of support or opposition, also testimony, data, to the Commission meetings as specific agenda items as we're able to based on the legislative cycle. The 2021 Statement of Municipal Policy includes more than 100 issues in 6 separate categories. The inclusion of so many areas of interest illustrates the complexity of the legislative process and the full scope of how actions at the state level can affect local governments. In the 2021 statement, the League, I believe, did an excellent job of providing a condensed list of 10 priority items, which are selected based on potential impact as well as insight on issues that the League staff has that they believe might see action during the session. All 10 priority items are relevant to the city, but I did want to call out a few specific items because they are either new to the priority list or the municipal policy statement, or because they could have broad impact specifically on city operations. So first on the list that's under the state's legislative priorities that I wanted to call special attention to is internet sales collection, internet sales tax collection. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated what was already a noticeable trend, which was the percentage of sales tax generated from online purchases and the increase in that in relation to those sales taxes generated by bricks and mortar business. Many online retailers are collecting internet sales tax, and the city does receive those. And in part because of that, the city has seen an increase in 2020. We saw an increase of 20% in internet sales tax collections to the city of Leavenworth. However, many businesses are still not collecting as they are not compelled to by the state because there is not comprehensive regulations in place. If the shift toward online purchasing continues and the right regulations are not in place, the city could face a decrease in resources to fund basic public services. Additionally, more comprehensive compensating use tax policy helps level the playing field with bricks and mortar stores that must charge the applicable sales tax. I think it's important to note here that if internet sales tax collections become a larger percentage of our overall revenue, but they're not collected, then reliance on other sources such as property tax will increase. So we want to make sure that the state collects those sales tax dollars, which will ease the burden on our property owners. The second one is police reform. The reason I put this on here is because it's new. There hasn't been, to my understanding, from our police chief who's involved in the Kansas Association of Police Chiefs or from the League of Kansas Municipalities, any large effort at the state to enact new statewide police reforms. However, with the climate that we went through in 2020, some of the exercises the city went through with transparency and public meetings, and it now being on the state's radar, I thought it was important to bring it to the attention of the commission and to communicate to our state delegation that we are not afraid and we are open to looking at any and all practices, and we prize transparency, openness with the public, and any reforms that make sense. I specifically included the language that we are interested in reforms that focus on providing resources for law enforcement, incentivizing transparency, and encouraging good police practices, including equity and justice. The next one on the list, I combined quite a few from the legislative priorities, and they all deal with budget and taxes, property taxes, tax lid repeal, property valuation, budget timelines. Over the last couple of years, I think the City Commission has seen that there's been individual movements. Last year, the phrase was truth in taxation that was floated around. It's a concept that would hold cities and counties accountable in relation to property tax revenue. Cities and counties, I believe, are already held accountable in numerous ways, including the election of local officials. We have elections every 2 years at the City of Leavenworth, and you all are elected by the citizens of Leavenworth to make those decisions. Similar to the tax lid enacted by the legislature, the concept is sound, but the legislation is deeply flawed. The tax lid has been completely ineffective, often having the exact opposite outcome that was intended. What's happening is cities are not reducing their mill levies because they're afraid that their base tax year will be reduced, and therefore they are leaving their mill levies the same under the tax lid, which is the opposite effect that the legislature had intended. The truth in taxation legislation took some legitimate concepts related to public feedback and transparency and combined them with unrealistic and costly processes that conflicted with existing state budget requirements. Namely, the city is required to have our budget turned into the county by August 25th, and the truth in taxation legislation required a ballot initiative if the city was going to collect more property tax. That was not feasible with the state's own mandated budget timeline, and therefore would not have worked in any way, shape, or form. The city does support the full repeal of the tax lid, as it is ineffective. We also support the consideration of a budget calendar when making any legislative demands. This is called doing your due diligence with your legislation, sending it through committee, getting input, so that we can work. A lot of times these are put through at the last minute without consideration of how they would be undertaken at the city level. And then the final priority item I included is mental health. The city, Commissioner Griswold, but the entire city through our goal-setting process has been heavily invested in mental health in the city of Leavenworth and in Leavenworth County. The City of Leavenworth is an active partner of the Countywide Mental Health Task Force and supports allocating additional resources for mental health programs. This support extends to mental health centers and bed space for patients with mental health issues that represent an increasing burden to law enforcement, community nonprofits, and the overall quality of life in the community. So of the priority items, I believe I condensed quite a few into the budget and tax line item. We included mental health, we included the police reform item, and then of course the internet sales tax collection. I am going to go through just a couple of the items that we have. I had my department directors go through their relevant sections, as well as myself and the assistant city manager, to see what specific items in these sections are something I wanted to bring to the attention of the commission. So first, I will turn your attention to page 7, and under page 7, which is under the finance and taxation. This is another property tax themed item. This is property tax exemptions. The city continues to support a broad tax base and believe that the existing property tax base should be protected. There's been a number of initiatives over the past few years to exempt certain properties from property tax collection, change the classification, change the percentage at which they're taxed. And so we reject any attempts to shrink the tax base. So there's no specific action item on this, but again, the city looking to continue our broad tax base with the existing property tax base that we have. Page 9. I think this is another very timely item. The fourth one down is cybersecurity.
Yes.
every time you look up now, it seems a public entity has had their data breached or held captive. This item specifically, I highlighted the final sentence in that one that says cities will use information provided by the state government. So we are looking to the state with this item to establish some sort of authority at the state level to provide us with the guidance. We are a city of 35,000 people with a limited budget. We have very good cybersecurity internal practices, but we could certainly benefit from statewide best practices, statewide funding, statewide guidance as we continue to try to safeguard our data as we move forward. We collect more and more data in all parts of our government, and I think it's important that we keep that safe as best we can.
Yeah.
That also includes mental health on that page, page 9 at the bottom, which continues to be a priority item for the city. Page 10. Two items on page 10 I'd like to bring your attention to. Connecting links. The city has fared well over the last 12 months. KDOT has started to receive funding to the levels that it should. The city received a grant for $1 million for the reconstruction of 4th Street through the downtown. We are exploring many other grants along 4th Street and along Spruce Street that will help the city maintain those roads. And so the Connecting Links program is a way that we can use just a little bit of city dollars and combine them with the state to make improvements in our city. The next one down is supporting the full funding. It's under the Comprehensive Transportation Program, supporting the full funding of the Eisenhower Legacy Transportation Program. This is essentially the new T-Works, which is the 10-year capital look-ahead. I had a conversation with Commissioner Griswold today about prioritizing as high as we can in our communication with the state delegation, Centennial Bridge, Centennial Bridge, Centennial Bridge.
Absolutely.
That it made the list, that's a huge first step, but I think at every step of the way, we need to ensure that it's moving along, that design is funded, that construction is scheduled and funded, and that we get this done within this 10-year window. So definitely a high priority there.
We do not want to be forgotten.
No, it's going well, and we've had a good relationship with KDOT, but I do think we need to continue to push for that.
Thank you.
On page 11, the final one, or the bottom one, is right-of-way. I think it's important that the cities maintain their ability to regulate the public right-of-way and recover reasonable compensation for use of the right-of-way. We're seeing a lot of broadband exploration and then enhancement in cities, and that's fine and that's good, but the cities should be able to regulate the right-of-way. There's a lot of stuff in the right-of-way, and it's city property, so whether that's franchise fees, regulations on where they can go and cannot go, the cities should reserve the right and should maintain control of the public right-of-way. The next item would be on page 13, and this is water and wastewater certification. I think the city needs to do a little more on this. I, again, spoke with Commissioner Griswold. This item came up a couple of years ago. It's extremely difficult to reach the higher levels of the state's wastewater certification for some of our employees. The test rate statewide is well under, I think, 30%. And there's got to be something wrong, I think, at that point with the test. And so we've identified this problem a couple years ago, but I think we need to do a better job of following through and seeing if we can't work with our regulatory agencies and our state legislators to see how we can make changes. So maybe identification in the last couple years, but I think that needs to transition into a little bit more action going forward. The last section would be government policies and procedures. Starts on page 15. Possibly the most important item for the city of Leavenworth is our home rule authority. That comes up all the time. That is a constitutional, it's in the Kansas Constitution, an amendment of the Kansas Constitution approved in 1960s to support local elected officials making decisions for their communities, particularly local tax and revenue decisions. I think that's what makes a lot of what we do possible. There are often little inroads made into maybe taking away some of our home rule control, and I think we want to continue to fight for complete home rule control as outlined in the Kansas Constitution. Item number 15, also on page 15, would be city elections. There's couple items on that. First of all, that they should remain nonpartisan, and I haven't heard anything new on that going back to looking at partisanship, but you never know. And then filing for office, this is a change that the Clerks Association, I believe, supports. Right now, you have to file at your county for even city elections. That works well here. It doesn't work well in a lot of western Kansas towns where the county seat may be a long way away. It could discourage people from filing. So we support the Clerks Association in allowing elections or filing for office to happen at the city locations. Sign regulation at the bottom left column of page 15. The city, I think it's no surprise to anybody, or no secret, that the city is looking at a complete redo of our political sign regulations. We will do those within law, but we should be able to do those how we see fit within the law. And so we support the authority of local governments to regulate signs in compliance with federal law or law.
Yes.
And then finally, on page 16, under community development, again, I don't know that there's any specific threat to tax abatements, tax increment financing, these revitalization tools. The city has relied heavily on these tools and Price Chopper project and the Cadence development and the hotel development. And we would continue to hope that we could use these tools to remain competitive and spur growth in the city of Leavenworth. So those are the priorities. Once again, so what we'll do tonight is I'll open it up in a second to see if there's any other priority items. If there is consensus, I'll turn this policy report and the comments of the commission into a letter that goes to our state delegation, which I will try to get out tomorrow. I know that we're a little bit late in the session, so I'll work hard to get that out tomorrow.
Okay.
That's all I have. If there's any questions or comments.
Yes, okay. I had one thing. We supported Medicaid expansion before, and I thought the League of Municipalities did. Did they not? I don't see anything. I looked through the whole packet. I didn't see anything in there,
It may have
but I might have missed it.
been something, yeah, I didn't see it either.
I mean, it won't.
Yeah, they
If
do.
there's any-
It's under, on page 5, under the legislative priorities, under EMS and hospital funding, the second sentence says, we support the expansion of Medicaid in Kansas.
Okay, got it. I missed it, sorry.
So,
But I think that is an important item.
if that's the consensus of the commission, that we can include that as definitely as a bullet in the letter.
Are you all okay with that?
Yes.
If we can-
I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm fine with it.
It's gonna be tough sledding with what, you know.
I know, but still,
But I support
we
it.
support our local hospital. We have one left.
Okay.
We don't want to lose it.
Did I mention anything in that little paragraph, Paul, about reimbursement rates for Medicaid, or did they just talk about expanding Medicaid eligibility?
There's nothing in here about reimbursement rates.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we can't.
You know, I know that, that was there was a two-part recommendation that the, Leavenworth County Mental Health Task Force made with our report in 2019. The first was the expansion of Medicaid eligibility, but the second was, you know, taking a hard look at increasing the reimbursement rates for Medicaid. And so, I don't know, I know that, the advocacy organization for the mental health centers, community mental health centers within Kansas, or that's one of their, I think that's gonna be their top priority in 2021. I just put it out there. I'm not saying that we have to sign up for that as a commission, but it is I think an important partner kind of issue with the expansion of the Medicaid eligibility, but
I think, yeah, getting that Medicaid expansion should be high priority too. And not only Medicaid, but TRICARE has a lower rate of reimbursement than
Right.
Medicaid does, which
Right.
is on a federal level, but that's a very sad statement, I think.
Yeah.
Commissioner Griswold, is Medicaid reimbursement state or federal?
That's state.
State.
Medicaid.
Medicaid will,
Medicaid is
the
Kansas.
state determines what the reimbursements are for the hospital.
Commissioner Wilson, do you have anything to add to all this? I kind of saw you come in a few minutes ago. Good to see you.
No, ma'am, I'm fine with the items. I'm fine with the items presented as is.
Okay. Is there any other
Well, and I know other states that have,
priorities here? Any other priorities here that we
Oh,
need to?
well, I was gonna comment on the Medicaid thing.
Oh, yeah,
Real quick,
yeah.
and then I do have something else. You know, other states that have passed that have been pretty successful. I think there was one instance that it wasn't, but it was more of the government at the time. But actually, they've been doing well with the expansion, from my understanding.
Yes.
Okay, I have another one on this water and wastewater certification. Why is this certification, I mean, have you really, Mr. Kramer, looked into it a little? We talked about this when I toured that plant, you know, that there was all these higher positions open, but they're just not achievable? Is the testing,
Yeah, it seems as
Obsolete.
though the test doesn't necessarily equate to the operation
Okay.
at a plant at certain levels. And if you're not going for the highest level to be a superintendent or such, but you want to get to certain classifications, maybe it should be more practical based than,
right, because isn't each, I mean, each plant is probably very similar, but, you know, ours is an older plant.
except for ours, and ours
Yeah,
is
ours
a
is
different
very
type of
old,
filter.
what,
Or
1972?
Yeah, and it's a
So-
different type of system, yeah,
So even the certification, they're looking at a whole different maybe system
right.
than what we have, okay? Thank you.
Anything else to add on this before we move on?
No,
Commissioner Pricey?
I don't think it can be done this year, but I've said it ever since we changed the dates of the elections. I still think it's foolish that city and school board elections are in November with applications or filings probably opening up this month, closing whatever the first Monday in June is. So if a person decides not to run, they're at a minimum a lame duck for 6 months, from 1st of June to, you know, the first full week in December, full meeting in December. And that's not the purpose of it. You'll get arguments from the legislature say, well, we do that, but they're not sitting there making decisions, making laws after May 31st. Right. They're out campaigning, you know, kissing babies and raising money, but they're not acting on any legislation. We are sitting here acting on legislation, making decisions for this city. And it worked for, I don't know, 50 years that filing till the last Monday in January, if there were enough applicants, candidates, there would be a primary, I think the last Tuesday in February. And whatever shook out there, the election would be the first Tuesday in April. And the commissioners would take their seat the second Tuesday in April. And it worked fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that, you know, supports the citizens of every city in this state. I think it's foolish as long as, you know, taking it to, it's almost an 11-month process now, because they're going to open it up, and it's not good.
Well, and especially for the school board.
Yeah, well, no, especially for the city. The school board too, but it's
School
for the
board
city
but
too, just as
since
much.
they're getting ready to get out of.
So I wouldn't be opposed to putting something in there. I've come more around to, you've mentioned this every year that I've been on the commission.
Yeah.
And I understand it, and I'm coming around to being comfortable with that, if that's one thing that we want to include in the letter. That's one commissioner's view, but.
no, that's fine. I mean, that, of course, can't happen.
No, I don't
this
think it
next
happened,
year.
but I think we start putting it up.
Put it
Maybe
up,
the people
yeah.
start thinking about it.
Right,
Well,
Right.
the school board supportive of this too, right?
Well, this is League of Kansas Municipalities, nothing to do with the school board. I have no idea whether they are or not.
Well, it would affect them, so
Yeah.
just
and,
wondered if they were supportive, if this law affects them, you know?
They used to be that they had the same filings, and they would not take their seat the next week. They'd wait until after July 1st. When I was on the school board, got elected the first week in April, you took your seat the first meeting in July. Now they are being elected in November, and they don't seat until July. I think that they're lame ducks for 8 months, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking they wait that long because of the budgeting or the school year.
School year, yeah.
So, I mean, they, in theory, someone's a lame duck for, if in fact that is true, for up to 18 months, which is, I don't think good for anybody. But for cities, I'm speaking for the city, my thoughts on the city.
Sure.
I just think You know, the quicker we get people seated, the shorter the election season. Who wants a 6-month election season for a city commissioner or a school board?
Yeah.
The professional
agree. I liked it a
the
lot better
professional
before.
pollsters do, but I don't think anyone else
Right.
does.
Yeah.
So the signs aren't out for that long.
What
just
does
easier.
Commissioner Wilson think? I mean, I'd ask, I mean, does he have any, thoughts on this?
No,
Okay,
no,
No comment.
okay.
okay. And so just coming back, I'd be comfortable with including that, as one commissioner.
It's fine, I don't see it happening, but,
No, right,
you know.
yeah. The other thing,
Having a conversation about it.
Sure.
yeah, you know.
I think the rates, increasing the Medicaid reimbursement rates kind of goes hand in hand with the expansion of eligibility as far as Medicaid, and they mentioned.
I think that could be included,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
in our goals.
Yeah, and I know that,
Because that is important.
Mr. Rickert, the executive director of the Guidance Center, would support that, so.
Okay, got it.
I know all our healthcare providers would too. Okay.
Yep.
Any, Commissioner Griswold, did you have any other comments or any other additions to this? I think I didn't
No,
ask you.
the only thing I did mention to the city manager today, in our pretty short conversation was that, and this may be something for the federal delegation, just in terms of, I mean, we have 2 years of a good, strong, kind of very significant in terms of its scope, the stormwater management program, and I know that was one of the categories in the statement of municipal policy from the League of Kansas Municipalities. So I don't know if it's something for state, but I mean, any type of grants or any type of, particularly grants, if any of that money is available, either through the state or the federal government, I'd certainly be interested in knowing about those programs for grants, because it is an expensive program, and we do have a fee for our citizens and businesses, but it's a very critical program, so that's my only comment. I don't know whether it's appropriate to mention it here, or maybe there'd be something more for our senators and state or U.S. representative in a few months. So.
Well, this is more the state right now, so we'll be discussing federal later, right?
Yeah,
Before we get into our goal setting.
They do have an infrastructure funding catch-all about supporting increased federal and state funding to assist local communities with water, wastewater, stormwater, levee and dam infrastructure, so
Yeah.
we can add that.
Yes.
I think
One more thing, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
If we do have a consensus of moving this forward, I'd think it'd be proper that city managers send this to Senator Pittman, Representative Proctor, and Representative French, our 3 representatives for this area, and also invite their comment, but let them know that these are the
Yeah.
things
Yeah,
that
that
we're
would be
highlighting.
great.
I agree with you 100%.
Good idea.
That's all I have,
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Anything else? Anything else, Mr. Kramer?
No, thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Next item on the agenda is the
Did
CARES.
we get a consensus?
Do we need to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we do.
Yes.
We got it.
Do we have a consensus?
Yes.
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 Commissioner? Yes.
Okay.
Okay, got it. Thank you, sir. Okay, next item is the CARES Act grant program update.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commission.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tedder.
As you know, the city received federal CARES Act funds that were distributed through the county that we've received over the last several months as we submitted eligible expenses to them. And we did focus the majority of our efforts on tax and revenue stabilization, but we also focused heavily on grants for community assistance. And that assistance was to support community support organizations and small businesses. We allocated $1 million and set that aside for these grants to both the community support organizations and relief to businesses. To date, between the 2 programs, we've provided grants in the amount of $459,250 directly into the community. And $325,000 of that was awarded to 15 different community support organizations, and that ranged from museums to food banks, shelters, clinics, mental and behavioral health center, a university, the library, and much more. $134,250 was awarded to 37 different small businesses, and those ranged in many different business sectors throughout the community, between restaurants, dental offices, florists, retail stores, motel, hotels, entertainment-based businesses, and other service-oriented businesses. And 5 of the businesses were in that recent expansion that you did on December 15th, to businesses that were open less than 24 months, but before that March 1st of 2020. So they were all extremely grateful and have been really appreciative of these grants, being able to help them out. Both of the grant programs, we heavily promoted them through all of our promotional avenues that we have available to us. And last week, staff reached out to several of those community support organizations that we did provide funding to, and the majority said that they've went through their full award.
Sure they did.
They're seeing unprecedented numbers still of people needing assistance, and these are varying organizations, but the theme remained the same. Businesses do continue to express need as well. Staff's opinion is perhaps re-advertising this, getting it back out there, especially bringing it here to the meeting will perhaps bring more interest in it. And then I wanted to find out your
Right.
whether you'd like to open it back up to some of these community support organizations that have already received funding.
I was surprised that only 37 small businesses. How many applied, or did those that apply get funding, or was that all you got? I mean, there's over 400 and some businesses, and
There were three denials, and it was they were either not in a
that's still
commercial.
not. I mean, I
Right.
would expect to see at least 100 businesses applying for it, because it is not that difficult an application.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the web-based application.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
I've
pretty
even
easy.
received comments on how easy the application is. You only have to upload 2 pieces of documentation, and it's a full fillable online form.
Right.
Very easy to do, and I'm happy to answer anyone's questions. They can call, email.
Question, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you said there were 3 denials. Why were they denied?
2 of them were in residential zoning districts. One was an apartment complex in a residential zoning district, and then another one was not a business. And then there was another one that was too young, less than 12 months old.
Right,
Yeah.
new business.
Okay, yep, thanks.
How much money do you have left? Did you say, or did I miss
About
that?
$500,000, don't you?
So between the 2 programs, over $500,000. Originally, the small business grant program was $250,000, and we're at $134,000.
Yeah.
So you have $500,000 left. You got $500,000 in your checkbook that you can pass out. Do you have a
Between the
date
2
that
programs.
dies? Is it, how long, do you have a particular date that it has to be distributed before you return it?
No.
No, okay.
Good. Because this is going on. I mean, it's not stopping. I'm still getting calls.
Sure.
At the United Way office every day, literally every day, for people needing help.
Yeah.
So I know this is gonna go on for a while.
I would be in favor of another award of $325,000 to those 15 community support organizations.
Well, they don't have to be those. I mean, those are a few, but we've got a lot of community service organizations
Right.
in our area too. But
Were there's
We
were
could
there some
open it
that
up again.
expressed an interest and we just didn't get to them during that first tranche of funding?
It's technically still open, so it's been available and it's still available.
I can list probably 10 or 15 other organizations that definitely would benefit through this, that serve frontline.
give us a call.
Yeah, maybe
Yes.
they don't, maybe, they don't know
If it's all right
about
with
it,
you,
or-
I'll send it out. I'll send that out to the Community Service, Human Service Council. Because
And our-
that covers about 40 organizations in our
That would be
City.
great, and Mary
community.
Dwyer, Community Development Coordinator, has also been
She's on that, she's
sending
on
it
that, yeah.
out. So, yeah, I
But, Madam
think,
Mayor, how do you feel though about, you know, a replenish, you know, these 15 here, are you in favor of,
I think open it up to others first.
okay.
I mean,
Well, you don't want to miss anybody, you know, so if you open it up and then.
Well, I just think,
I'm okay with it, but I think they should reapply.
sure,
Their status
Yeah.
may have changed, you know.
yes,
Some might not
I'm
be
okay with that. I would say, and I don't know for each one of these organizations, but I would think several of them still have quite a bit of a need, right? So, I mean, I would support, you know, if they want to reapply, I would be amenable to, you know, looking to make another award, but I also think if there are other community service support organizations that, for some reason or another, didn't express an interest during the first, iteration of this, that, yes, we need to,
They
they
need it
need to
now.
get
Yeah,
their bids in.
I can think of several right now
Okay.
that have not applied.
That's fine.
On
Probably
the
would.
small businesses, are you saying, are you asking us, should we reopen it even for some of these small businesses to get a second round? Is there-
not necessarily, I think that would be more for the community service,
Okay.
support
Yeah.
organizations.
Thank you. I understand.
I think I've seen a theme with some businesses throughout the pandemic that initially they're good, they're fine, we've got, you know, savings, we're good, and then, 6-8 months later, things have changed.
Yeah,
So,
stretching it out longer.
so I think putting it back out there might drum up a little bit more interest as well from some of those businesses that maybe
And
back
this-
in October, November wasn't interested.
And this was put out through the chamber too, wasn't it?
The
That
chamber,
was- That's
Main
amazing because they
Street,
have like 400 members.
Right.
And Main Street has a lot too.
yeah.
Okay, I'm all for putting everything back out there.
Sure.
And if they want to reapply and
Sure.
apply for more funds,
That's good, we have the
Yeah.
funds, and there's a need, we know that there's a need, and I support that 100%.
Let's help them out.
I know that, you know, with that, COVID-19 relief bill that the Congress passed and President Trump, I think, signed a week or 10 days ago, there should be, there's money in there, I think it's around 280 billion, but another significant amount of money for these Paycheck Protection Program loans, so I would
Right.
think some of the businesses within our city are gonna, apply for additional PPPs, but, I don't know, I just, hasn't gotten as much publicity as it did the first round, but I know some of them are have just as much a need now as they did, 6, 7, 8 months
In the
ago,
beginning, yeah.
but.
sounds good. Well, good work. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
We'll keep you updated.
All right. Any other comments or questions or
No?
in regard to this issue? Thank you for the update, Taylor. Appreciate it, sir.
Right.
Okay. That is the end of our agenda. It's pretty short tonight. I'll go around the horn here. Commissioner Griswold, do you have anything this
I
evening?
don't have anything this evening.
Commissioner Wilson? I always look forward to
Well, I
hearing.
know it's it, but I just want to say Happy New Year.
I know, that's what I said too. Yep. First,
Yeah. 2021. Looking for great things. Great expectations.
Good, thank you so much. Commissioner Preisinger?
Yeah, Happy New Year to everyone, and a shout out to the street crews who worked on New Year's Day, I think starting New Year's Eve, salting and clearing the streets, the main avenues on New Year's Day. And, it's always a tough job, never going to please everybody, but I think they do an excellent job. If you do live on a street that you feel did not get the snow plows missed, you can call the service center. They will come out and get you, but residential streets, if you remember, our snow removal plan is the third level. You take the main arteries first, and then some of the feeder streets, and then the residential streets are third. And residential street just gets one pass in residential areas. But I think they did an excellent job. I believe we were able to do it just with city forces. Am I correct, Mr. Kramer?
Yeah, we did use contractors for our downtown cleanup. They have some specialized equipment, so they did that Sunday morning, but our crews did all of the collector
Yeah.
arterial and residential streets.
And it was somewhat lucky that it landed on the snowfall came on a holiday, on a long weekend. Obviously, if it's during the week on a workday, the immediacy is much more important, so people can get to and from work and school, et cetera. That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Commissioner Leonhard.
No, just Happy New Year. That's all I have.
Well, I talked to somebody the other day. This is a tough time. We're waiting for the vaccine. I know some people who have already gotten it, some entities, especially those who work in home care, and some that have worked with the nursing home care as well, and first responders in the health clinics and that. I ran into somebody the other day that said I believe in herd immunity. And I'm not quite sure. I mean, I believe in herd immunity too, after everybody gets the vaccine and you're all immune then.
Right.
But just the spreading of the virus around, I just wanted to say that if they walked into one of our hospitals, especially the hospitals in Kansas City area, and saw what people have to deal with, it's not only, it's not only about you, it's about everybody. So please continue to wear your mask. Please continue to be healthy and stay at a distance, social distance, and we'll be over this pretty soon. I really am excited about the vaccines coming online. I know it's a slow start, but we're going to get it, and it is getting to the right people at the start so that they can keep from spreading it to others. So with that, I'm good. Anybody else? Mr. Kramer, anything else?
Nothing else.
Carla, anything? Ms. Williamson? All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.